Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're back. We're going to do another Proving Grounds practice machine. This time we're doing a machine called Outdated, not to be confused with a hack the box machine of the same name. Um, it is a Linux box and it is rated as easy. I didn't think it was easy, but I don't think any of these are easy. So without further ado, you can see I am on Offsec's VPN and I do have the Outdated machine spun up. First thing we did was we ran an mmap scan, surface version detection, T4, all ports, aggressive, and three things came back. 22 on SSH, 80 on HTTP, which is running some kind of convert HTML to PDF online software, and then 10,000, which is filtered and we can't get to. That will come into play later on, though. All right, so that doesn't really give us a whole lot of options. So the first thing I did was I just went to the website, and sure as it as advertised, it's running this convert HTML to PDF online software. We don't know what it is and we don't know its version. So if we just type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we click convert, and it does what it says. It converts it to a PDF. Now, I decided to do some go busting. So that's what I did. And to save a little time, I've already done it. There's two directories that pop up, config, which we don't have access to, and vendor, okay, which is something that should set off alarm bells, especially when we're trying to figure out what software there is and what the version is. So let's go over to the software, to the website, and we'll tack vendor on there and see what comes back. And it takes us to a directory, listable directory, and right off the bat we see mPDF. So if we click on mPDF, click on mPDF again, there's a changelog.txt. Great for finding out what the version of the software is. Okay, so let's go back to the converter. And one tool you should always be comfortable with is searchsploit. So exactly what I did was I typed searchsploit, mPDF, and really there were two. This first one I couldn't get working because it uses Perl and it required some Perl modules, and Perl is nowhere near as easy to manage as Python. So eventually I gave up. And just went with this next one, which affected version 7.0 and earlier, and it's a local file inclusion vulnerability, which typically means that you can access files on a local file system that you should not be able to. Okay, so if we bring up this exploit in exploitdb, we can see it's a pretty simple one. It takes one argument, which is the absolute path to the file that you're trying to access. So just click the download arrow, which I've already done, and you can see I have the 50995 pi right there. We're going to open a terminal here. We're going to type Python 3 50995. We're going to hit enter, and it just basically, like I said, asks for the absolute path to the file that you're trying to get to. So we're going to just do the example one just so I can show you how this works. Copy, paste, and we hit enter. And it gives you two payloads. I wouldn't bother with the base 64 one because none of these encoded payloads work for me. I had to decode them. And if you decode the base 64 one, it just gives you a URL encoded version. So just save yourself some time. Copy the URL encoded version. Go to the website of your choice to do URL decoding. Paste that in there. And click decode. And now we get something that looks like a kind of more English payload. So we'll copy that and we'll paste it into the website. We'll click convert. Now you see it took me a minute here, but you can see there's this annotation here and it's referencing etc password. If you double click on it, you can download the file. So we're going to save that. We're going to go over here. We're going to open it in Mousepad. And you can see we do in fact have access to the passwd. So this exploit is something that we can use on this machine. It does disclose that there's a service account, but this was just an example. You don't have to do this. When you actually look for the file that I'm going to talk about, it discloses everything you need. So because this is an mPDF machine, what I decided to look for was the config file. It's located in the base directory of the web server, which is always var www.html. You remember that we saw that directory config. That is in fact where the file is. So we're going to go back to our exploit. We're going to copy in the absolute path to the file that we want, config.php. We're going to paste that in here, and we're going to hit enter. Now we get another URL encoded payload, so we'll copy that. We'll go to the URL decoder, and we'll paste in this new payload, and we'll click decode, and we have our next payload. So we'll copy that, go back to the converter software, go back to the actual conversion page, paste in the new payload, click convert, and now we have an annotation that references the config.php file. We double click that, we can save it. Now we can open it in Mousepad, and we hit pay dirt. We have set of credentials now. So you're going to want to copy that password because you're not going to want to have to type that. And that would probably be a hard one to crack as well, because that is a pretty much of a banger of a password. So what we're going to do is get out of here. We're going to open a terminal, and we're going to try and SSH into the machine. So SSH SVC account to the IP address. Make sure the IP address is correct. It is. So now we're going to copy that password. Paste clipboard, and we get a shell. So let's do an ls, local.txt, so we'll cat local.txt. There's a user flag. Now, I did my normal enumeration steps, history, sudo tac-l, can't run sudo on this machine. I did a search for files with the suid set. I searched for capabilities. I looked in the cron tab. Now, if you remember, there was that filtered 10,000 port. So what I did was I tried using netstat. It's not on the machine, so you can use a command called ss. And I believe it's TULN are the flags you would need. Typically, when I run netstat, it's tac ANO for I can't remember what SS stands for. I think it's system sockets. You want to use those arguments right there. So when we hit enter, we do in fact see that 10,000 is listening on all interfaces, but because it's filtered, we can't access it from our attack machine. So my next thought was to try and do a curl statement to see if I could access the content that was running on 10,000 to see what it was. So we do curl HTTP localhost, because we're on the actual machine, port 10,000. Okay. We hit enter, and it says this web server is running in SSL mode, try HTTPS. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to tack an S onto this HTTP, and we're going to hit enter. Now we get a curl error that says curl couldn't verify the legitimacy of the server. So there basically is a certificate error you would get if you visit a website and it doesn't have a valid certificate or a self-signed certificate, and you have to accept the risk and continue. So I just Googled, how do I ignore certificate errors with curl, and it's tac-k, okay? So we'll go back to outdated, we'll add the tac-k in there, and hit enter. Okay, now we're in business. So if you put your glasses on and you look through all of this, you'll eventually find that it's running an instance of Webmin. So because we can't access this from our attack machine, and we're in shell here, we don't have a browser, this would be a good candidate for Chisel, which if you haven't watched my Chisel video, you should. It's a great tool. But Chisel would be appropriate if we didn't have credentials. We actually have credentials, so I thought it might be a little easier than having to set everything up to just use SSH, because you can use SSH to forward a port. So if you just Google that, and I will make sure I include this in the link in the description below. The command is right here. I do add a couple of additional flags, but it's really simple, okay? So what you're going to want to do is go back to your attack machine, and this is the command you're going to want to run. Now, I'm going to have a different port in there just to show you so I can explain this, but it's important that you use 10,000 on your local machine as well, because the exploit that we're going to use in the future is kind of coded to use that. So if we paste the clipboard, you can see basically we're running SSH. This .tacf is running in the background. TAC N is don't run any other commands, and this TAC L is we want to forward basically a port. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in here. This is the port on your machine you want the traffic to go to. I just put that in there so you can see the difference. We're going to make it 10,000 because we want it to be 10,000. Localhost 10,000 is the machine that you're logging into, right? So we want to forward all of the localhost port 10,000 traffic on the machine we're attacking or logging into with SSH back to the local port on our machine, okay, on port 10,000. And we're just using our credentials to log into the server. So when I hit enter, and let me just copy the password real quick because it's going to ask for that. Copy. We're going to hit enter. It's going to ask for the password. We're going to paste it. And it looks like it didn't do anything. But that's because we ran the command in the background. Now, I can show you this by doing ps-aux grep ssh. You can see it's definitely running in the background, okay? So now, theoretically, we can come over here and we can type localhost, because we want, remember, we're connecting to our local host because all the port traffic on 10,000 on the machine we're attacking is being forwarded to our machine on 10,000. And if we hit enter, we get that same SSL mode error. So we just click on the link to redirect to HTTPS, and you can see now we have the Webmin login panel. To save a little time, I will tell you, you can log into Webmin with the credentials you have, and you will find that the version of Webmin that's running is 1996. So I went to Searchsploit, found the exploit for 1996, okay, and it's right here. This one is going to require a little bit of work. There's a lot of arguments that you have to put in, which I will explain, but this code is not going to work out of the box, and I'll show you why when we get to that point. It's also going to require a Python virtual environment because of the requests and the beautiful soup, or BS4, okay? So make sure you download the code, which I've already done. And if we go to the directory where I have that code, we can open a terminal here. And like I said, we have to do a Python virtual environment. So we'll do Python 3, TAC-M for module, venv for virtual environment, and then I usually just name it what it traditionally is, which is .venv. We're going to hit enter. Now we know we need to install requests in beautiful soup. So we'll do venv bin pip install bs4. Okay. Now we have to install requests. Okay, so let's clear the screen. We're going to make this a little better for you so you can see what's actually happening. All right, let's make this a little bigger. All right, so to run this exploit, this is the actual, let's just see here, hold on. This is the actual command that you need to run. And I will make sure to explain it, so don't worry, because it's, like I said, there's a lot of arguments. All right, so we're running the Python command in our virtual environment. We're running the exploit. The host is that we're connecting to localhost, our local machine. You don't need to put port 10,000 because the exploit appends all of that stuff onto the back end of the URL for you. We're using the service account and password to log in, and we want to connect back to our machine on local port 4444. So what we're going to do is we'll do a netcat listener on 4444. We'll run the exploit, and it's going to come back with an error because of this certificate stuff. I'll show you. We'll hit enter, and it's going to fail. It's going to take a second to fail. So okay. Now, here's the key right here. It's failing because of this SSL it can't verify the certificate. Okay. Now, this I was stuck at for a tiny, tiny bit. Okay. If we go and look at the code, this is where I'm going to be honest with you. You really need to understand Python, at least be able to read it, maybe not write it, but understand the general language and how things work, because I would have never figured this out if I didn't. So it's failing because of that certificate error. So if we come back here, I went to Google and I said, how do I disable the certificate check in Python requests? And it came back and it said you have to, for the session, you need to set verify to false. Okay. So if we come back to the code, we can see the session that's being created by the exploit is called session, right? That's the variable, right? And all of the session stuff is happening right here in these two lines. So I will make sure that I put a link to this edited script in my GitHub so that you can see what I did. But essentially what you need to do is you need to set verify to false for that session. Now, because the session is being referenced by the variable session, we're going to type session dot verify equals false, and make sure you spell false correctly. For me, it's purple in my editor. For you, it may be a different color in your editor, but it's a capital F. Okay. So I'm going to have that line in here. So this is the line we put in, session dot verify equals false. We're going to click save. We're going to exit out of here. We're going to go back to our two windows. Okay. And we're going to come back here. We're going to clear the screen. Now we're going to try and run this again. Now we should still see some stuff going by regarding the connection, but we should get a root shell. Fingers crossed. Okay. Hit enter. And it takes a few seconds, so we'll just wait. And there we go. We got a root shell. So now we can cd root. We can do an ls, and we can cat proof.txt, and I will make sure to blur this out. Whoop. How about we actually spell proof.txt correctly? And there's the flag. So this, I had a lot of fun on this box. It was really challenged me. I don't know, you know, I'm not just really that good at any of this, okay? But I thought that this box was really interesting. So the way we did this was we did an mmap scan. We found that port 80 was running some HTML conversion to PDF software. We did some enumeration like with Go busting. We found that there was a vendor directory, which enabled us to find out it was mPDF version 6. We used searchsploit to find an exploit, downloaded the code for local file inclusion, was able to get a copy of the config.php, okay, which gave us a set of credentials. We logged in with those credentials, and we were able to do some enumeration, but figured out that the way forward was this mysterious filtered port 10,000. So what we decided to do was curl that to see what it was. We can see on the machine that it was running Webmin, but unfortunately, because we don't have a browser there and we can't access it from the attack machine, we needed to use SSH to forward all the traffic from port 10,000 on the machine we were attacking to our local host. When we did that, we found out that it was running Webmin version 1.996. We found an exploit for that, downloaded the code, had to do some modifications to the code to basically get rid of the session verifying the certificate. Once we did that, we were able to get the root shell and get the flag. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. All the links will be in the description below. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them below as well, and I'll be happy to talk to you. I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.